Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be looking at fractions to percentages. The other day we had a look at fractions to decimals. So when we're talking about percentages, we're actually talking about fractions of 100. So when we look at the symbol for percentages, it's actually a sign that looks like that. So the simplest way that you could refer to percentages if you were ever unsure is if you're familiar with the symbol. It's made up of a one, and it's made up of two zeros. And I like to reference those zeros exactly like that. So that's what we're talking about. So we're talking about percentages, which are fractions of 100. Again, that's the symbol for percentage, and it's a measure of 100. So percent. Okay. And for instance, let's have a look at the fraction 1 over 5. And we want to work at what 1 over 5 is as a percentage. 1 over 5 can actually be written as 1 over 5 times 100 if we're wanting to work it out as a percentage. When we've got 100, that 100 is the same as saying, so I'll just go through that again, 1 over 5 times 100 divided by 1. So again, we've got our numerator where we multiply 100 times 1, and we've got our denominator of 5 times 1. So that's equal to 1 times 100, 1 times 100 divided by 5 times 1. So 1 times 100 is equal to 100. 5 times 1 is equal to 5. To simplify this further, if we just cross out that 0 for the moment and say 10 divided by 5, how many 5s go into 10? 5 1s are 5, 5 2s are 10. So 5 goes into 10 two times, so that's equal to 2, and then we drop down the 0. It becomes 20%. That's one way of working at a fraction to a percentage. The other way of working out percentages is if we go through another example. Let's use an example of 3 divided by 4. As we saw on our previous video of fractions to decimals, we used long division, and we said 4 into 3. We then said how many 4s go into 3? That's 0. And as we said, that we can actually turn this 3 into 3.0, which as we noted is the same as 3. So we now treat this as 30. So 4 into 30 goes 7 times. So 7 4s, 7 times 4 equals 28. So 7 times 4 equals 28. And so 7 times 4 equals 28, and 0.7 times 4 is 2.8. So 3 take away 2.8 is 0.2. Again, we place another 0 there, then that 0 comes down, meets that. So now we ask how many 4s go into 20. So 4 times 5 equals 20. So 5 lots go into 20. 5 times 4 is 20. And then we can now say that these two cancel out, 0 and 0. Now because we've got a 0, we know that 0.75 is our answer. So 3 over 4 is equal to 0.75. Now we now have a decimal, and we want to change that to a percentage. So what we can say here is 0.75 times 100. Because remember when we're talking about percentages, we're always referring back to 100, a fraction of 100. And what I do here is I actually say, because we've got 2 zeros, this is the decimal point here, and we're going to move the decimal point to the right. So we're going to move the decimal point to the right 2 places. That's 1 place. I take this point out, and we're going to, then I cross the 0 out, and then we're going to move it again a second place in there, and that crosses that one out, and that's where the new decimal point will be. So it's equal to 75. I've left the decimal point there, even if you wanted to say 75.0%, or simply 75%. That's another way of working out percentages from decimal, from a decimal, in this instance 0.75. Okay, hope that makes some, hope that brings some clarity to you. So again, we're looking at fractions to percentages, and important to understand that when we're talking about percentages, that is the sign of the percent. And the simplest way, as I say, is I look at it as a 1 and 2 zeros. All right, hope that made things a little bit clearer for you guys, and hope you guys look at subscribing, and thanks for the views. See you next time. Bye guys.